Take your stole off and go to the powder room.
Powder room?
Just visit a while.
Hollywood in the 1950s to 1970s were seen as the golden age of glamour. Red carpets, flashing cameras, beautiful women, and famous men defined what the world believed was success, but beneath the surface, behind closed doors, another world existed. This was the world of exclusive parties, private gatherings hosted by powerful producers, studio executives, politicians, and media moguls. They were not just social events, they were systems of control, recruitment, and exploitation built to protect the powerful and silence the vulnerable. This was not about fun. This was a structure, a pattern, a hidden economy of fame, access, and survival. And the crucial worst dark part is actresses were used as bait. Hollywood is not just about glamour, it's a world of mystery, and on tragic icons, we unravel it all. The Hollywood illusion. The image of Hollywood as a dream factory was carefully manufactured. Studios in the 1950s to 1970s controlled everything: contracts, media, image, and reputation. Young women were brought in with the promise of fame and success. They were told they were chosen and that they were lucky, but luck had a cost. Behind the glamour were unspoken rules, and nothing came for free. Actresses were expected to be available not just for roles but for studio heads, directors, and their business associates. If they refused, opportunities disappeared. If they complied, they were rewarded at least temporarily, and often their presence was required at private events hosted far from the public eye. These parties were usually not casual, they were orchestrated. Locations ranged from Beverly Hills mansion to private estates owned by businessmen with deep connections to politics and organized CRIME. The guest list always included the same types of people: high-level producers, wealthy financiers, political donors, and a rotating group of young actresses and aspiring models. The presence of famous actresses gave the illusion of safety. Many of them were trapped in the same system, used as bait, whether willingly or unwillingly, to attract new women. One thing about these executives, what they understood was that to throw a successful secret lavish party, there had to be bait. And the greatest bait there was back then were actresses. Actresses whom young girls looked up to and aspired to become. These young girls who wanted to become as glamorous and famous as them. One of the actresses who would actually be a part of this scheme was British actress Diana Dawes, who to me I feel like she was a villain. She used to throw secret parties at her home with her husband, and she would bait these young girls and lie to them and say that she was actually putting them under her wing, but in reality she was grooming them, and she was pimping these young girls. And that most of the time, with what was happening at these secret parties, she wanted to make sure that the executives got what they want and they were happy. And that was that these young girls accept the advances and accept what was happening. Even though she did deny later on that she was actually being told and was forced, but I honestly think that it was a lie. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that not all of these actresses were actually victims? Even though some of them were bait, But one thing for you guys to understand that there were actresses who were victims to this crazy system. Their image made the party seem legitimate. Their silence kept the machine, kept the game running. Some were told these parties were networking opportunities. Others were told to go as a favor. Some were pressured by agents. Some were manipulated directly by the man who promised to help their careers. These events were not just about socializing, they were about access and power. Women were there to be seen, offered, traded, and then discarded.
I don't want to be worshipped. I want to be loved.
Well, that goes without saying. But I also want you up on a pedestal where you belong, where I can look up and adore you.
You are probably wondering why no one spoke up. In an industry where image meant everything, speaking up came with consequences. Careers were usually destroyed, not because they lacked talent, but because of what someone said or refused to do. These women were isolated. Even though some were used as bait, there were women who were victims, and there was no protection for whatever was happening, and the legal systems did not recognize anything at all. Victims were often dismissed as difficult or unstable. For those who did speak, the stories were usually buried by the studios, the press, or simply ignored. Some were blacklisted, others were institutionalized or labeled mentally unfit. Some turned to substances to cope. The system was built to make the victim feel like the problem. To me, this is sad with how everything used to play out. These secret parties were dark. A lot of young girls were forced to do things against their will. They were touched inappropriately and they were passed around. These young girls were actually traumatized. These secret parties had a lot of dark things that were happening. It was more of an organized crime, and there was a lot of grooming by these powerful actresses, these role models. Tell me and let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What do you guys think of these women used as bait? Some women were actually victims, women like Marilyn Monroe and Rita Hayworth. But at this point, I'm also kind of doubting who were the heroes and who were the villains. There were men who controlled these parties, and these men sometimes were not just entertainers. Many had political ties, media influence, and financial power. They could end anyone's career. They would erase stories and control public narratives when scandals happened. Some were known as vicious, but were usually protected by their influence. There is a lot of power, guys, and influence. When someone has fame, you can get away with almost anything if you're not caught. Others operated more discreetly, never directly committing acts themselves, but they created the environment where exploitation was inevitable. Sorry, my English is bad. Inevitable. They were surrounded by people whose careers demanded and depended on staying silent. Publicists, managers, producers, even law enforcement in some cases. There was no accountability, only loyalty to power. And because this man gave millions to political campaigns and they controlled either studio empires or had connections to the press, they were untouchable. Their reputations remained intact while the women they harmed were erased from the industry or from the world. What do you guys think of the whole story? Because the emotional damage from these experiences were lasting. Many women carried shame, guilt, confusion, and trauma for the rest of their lives. The secret parties were not isolated incidents, they were part of the deeper, darker structure, one that was designed to protect the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. Hollywood sold a fantasy, but it built that fantasy on silence, fear, and exploitation. And until those systems are fully acknowledged, the cycle continues in new forms, under new names, with new faces. One would think that behind lavish and glam, there is maybe peace, but sometimes I feel like there's actually more to it than the eyes can actually see. And for young girls to be exploited, to be exchanged, to be taken advantage of in these parties, this is something very crucial. And for some of these girls who aspired to live the life that their role models lived, and for them to be actually baited and to be actually also part of the scheme by the very same people that they looked up to, was also very brutal and a hard pill to swallow. Please let me know, guys, what you think in the comments section. My name is Unina, your host from Tragic Icons. Please like this video, do comment, leave an opinion in the comment section, and please do subscribe. When you do subscribe, please hit the notification bell. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.